Hey, good morning everyone. Kay here on my homestead in Tennessee. Well, I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and get some repairs done. So let's head on over to the shop and I'll tell you about it. I am going to spend the rest of the day inside, but I just wanted to cover this real quick because things are gonna get pretty exciting here on Monday. And I've already got this huge dump trailer here parked out in front of my shop, and we may even go inside to talk about this because I'm cold. But first, let me give you an overview. Okay, you can probably tell from a distance that that is an old tin roof covered in algae. But what you can't see from a distance is how it was constructed and what the problems are. I have been concerned about the leaks in my shop since I got here. And we did some work with the man who worked for me last year. He actually put in a drain down here. It isn't sufficient for the situation. I have a lot of water coming off of this hill and also water coming off the roof. I have, in addition, recently gotten some of the trees and limbs backed off of this roof, so not so much falls on the roof. I have considered, of course, rain capture, because even though we have a lot of rain here, you never know. We have dry periods, and if the cistern fails, whatever, we want to have redundant backup systems for everything. Now, for heat, for water, for sun, for, cover over our plants, we got to think of everything, right? In order to produce, to feel like we have a chance at producing some healthy food. So I was going to capture rain here, but okay, between the tank and the filters and the gutter system, that's another $5 grand right there. So I have to focus on, I'm not in a position to just do whatever I want here. I would love to. I would love to put drainage all along here and direct it away from the shop and away from the house. That's thousands of dollars, and so I just have to fix what I can when I can. And I have been looking for somebody to help me repair this roof. I was going to just repair it. Some of the beams inside that support the roof have started to rot. Some of the cross beams, not a lot, but enough that it needs help. And the other day when Randy was here, he pulled a piece of plastic off of this top thing, and all this water came down. So I know now it's not only leaking on the far side, but it's also leaking on the back side of this. The whole thing, what's interesting is they put this together when they built this, I assume around 1990 sometime. It was, the tin and the siding was nailed to the wood with a bushing. So you have a nail with a bushing, and then you have your tin. Okay, so over time nails work out. That's why they invented screws, right? Screws don't work themselves out with the shifting of the ground or whatever. And there has been shifting here because the entire slab, the entire concrete slab of that shop is broken, and it's about at least an inch up, all the way down the middle. So that's the problem when you've got all this water coming off and you don't really, and I'm not a structural engineer by any means, but obviously when you know that you've got a lot of water coming off of a hillside, you can't just throw down a piece of concrete, reinforced concrete, and expect it not to crack. It's gonna crack. So it did. So anyway, I have been trying to find somebody to do a spot repair job. I had an estimate last year. I had a roofer here, and he climbed up on there, and that's when I found out everything is nailed, and the bushings in 32 years have decomposed, and so you've got this space, you've got a hole in the tin and the nail, and so the bushing is no longer squished up against the tin, and so water can get in there. It's not as bad on the sides, but of course it's bad on the roof. So I was going to do a spot job, and because last year I got an estimate, I thought, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. You know, when I came here, people said, don't put any money into your shop. You know, the husband is going to, you know, go ape over having a shop, but you want to increase the value of your home, you put in new cabinets in your kitchen and bathrooms. So because that's what we care about, right? The ladies care about that. So I would give anything to have nice white cabinets in my kitchen, but you know what they cost. Thousands and thousands of, tens of thousands of dollars, forget it. So anyway, this starts right away. We've already got the trailer here, and I finally got my neighbor free. See, the best time to do this is not now when everything is soaking wet. The ground is soaking wet, and it could rain at any time. It was raining this morning, lightly. We had a big rain 2 days ago, but the contractors, the ones that are good, are all busy during the dry spell in the summer. They're just cranking out houses and doing all manner of construction. So my neighbor, who's a young man and with a young family, is going to do it, and they're free now because, you know, of the weather, because it's wet, you know, it's too muddy to, you know, do any landscaping or construction. So they're going to have time to do this for me, so they start right away. So I decided to go ahead and get a new roof because he said you could spend, I don't know, $2-3 grand just making this better, and still you've got an old roof that's at the end of its lifespan. So I am going to try to keep some of the tin, and in case I manage to get a chicken house built or something, I'm gonna try to recycle some of that, reuse. And so let me show you up close some of the things I've been talking about. Okay, so another problem is he was pointing out that you usually put the screw through the part that's right up against the wood, or the insulation and then the wood, rather than putting it here on top of this ridge. That's what he was saying, but these are actually nails, they're not screws. So once you pull that nail out and that bushing out, a big consideration is that screw going to go in and be secure in that same hole? So that was another big question mark, and another reason I decided to just go ahead and get a whole new roof, because new holes can go, new holes into the tin can go into a different place. I'm demonstrating on the sidewall because I am not going on the roof, okay? But that's the situation. Okay, this is probably the best example. This cross beam has a name, which I don't remember, but it's probably rotted for at least 6 feet. But they can do, I'm told, something called a scab. Build a scab. You put the scab, you attach it to the goods section of the wood. It's like a little bracket. And then you can cut the bad section and you pop in the new section without having to rip the whole board the length of the whole roof. When I was coordinating, I wasn't the contractor. He was off in his office making lots of money, but I was the on-the-site job coordinator, you might say, of my very expensive renovation of the house in California. And I love being on a construction site. My father was the same way, my mother's the same way. And so I love all this. I'm not physically capable of doing any of this work anymore. And I was more capable, you know, before than I am even now. So I do enjoy it, but you know, finding, if you are someone like me and you're thinking about doing the homesteading thing. Oh, and by the way, if you're new here, I was an urban gardener for 8 years in LA and an actor, and that's why I lived in LA, raised a family, a couple boys, and so that all ended, and I came here and found this place. I always wanted more space. As soon as I started gardening, I wanted more space. Tennessee's my home state, and that's primarily why I wound up in Tennessee. Anyway, if you're new to my channel and you find the journey of developing a possible off-grid homestead, you know, I would like to feel like I could live off-grid here. I do have heat. I do have backup energy systems. I do have backup water. But all of this has taken a lot of effort and a lot of money. So just want you to know, and if you're someone like me who can't, you know, get on a ladder and go on a roof and scramble around and do all that. I mean, I used to. I went on my roof in California, but I'm not doing that anymore. Not on a tin roof anyway. Asphalt roof, I might. Not my roof over there, though. It's way too steep. So that's out. Those days are over, I think. But anyway, you have to think about, you know, how hard is it going to be to get somebody good to do what you need done, you know. And just in terms of getting some of those trees taken down, I had to get somebody that lives an hour from here because I couldn't get anybody local. So it takes an effort, and you know, it's rewarding when you find somebody, and I think I found somebody good for this. I like the fact that he lives 2 doors down, and so we'll see. We're going to get started on Monday, but there are some other spots of this roof that have to be, the wood has to be replaced, and the goal is to have all new insulation underneath a new roof. And I really wanted, a neighbor of mine that I bought some plants from this past spring has a huge, beautiful, relatively new shop, which I'm sure he spent, I don't know, 100 grand on maybe, I don't know, a lot of money. Probably 1.5 to 2 times bigger than this shop. And he, down the middle of the top, he put, it's got to be at least that wide, it's clear. Now, he doesn't have any trees anywhere around his shop, so he can expect that to stay relatively clear, you know, without getting all dirty. But like this contractor said, with all these trees around here, I really wanted to do that, and I thought, you know, this could be a possible backup greenhouse in here if I could get some light in here. And the minute you start putting windows, just FYI, the minute you start putting windows and more doors or whatever in a shop, it's easier to break into, because they can look in, they go, ooh, you know, I want that. So you have to think about security, and so having it right down the top would be ideal. But he said it's going to be dirty all the time, and how are you going to get up there and clean it? You know, am I going to get some service here to clean it, you know, every month? I don't think so. So I elected not to do that. Plus, it's more money. So I went as economically as I could, and still getting a new roof, an awning, new insulation, boards replaced, and he's going to paint it. Remember when I said, what color should we paint? You know, and it's going to be like an adobe greenish, you know, gold. I want a kind of a green gold, so it'll look great in the spring. That's I had sort of a light green house in California, and I never tired of it. I loved it, and even when I repainted the whole house during the construction, I painted it the same color. All I changed was the color of the shutters. So yeah, I love that pale green color to fit into the forest, but I want it to be maybe a green gold so that it looks fantastic in the fall, you know, when the leaves are turning to gold. So I'll have to go and look at paint samples and do all that, but that's something we're planning too. Now, another thing we discovered, you've got to take a look, you've got to be observant, like you do with your garden. You've got to be observant with your property. And he discovered that the ground is washed out under the corner, the concrete slab of the shop over here in the corner, because there's a slope, and the water coming off that hill is washing back behind the end of the shop and just washing out that corner. when you cut a roof, you need a certain amount of overhang to put in a gutter. It's supposed to be very tight, very close. But we decided to give, since I'm not doing gutters right now, I wanted to have the opportunity to do them later if things go well. And so if my channel keeps growing and things go even better, I would be able to do something like that. So he is leaving more of an overhang for now, which will put the water away from the side, which has all these holes. And by the way, the painting, he said, will kind of fill in some of these rotted bushings and stuff, and they can tap them in and spray it, and hopefully that will be even more waterproof. But yeah, I wanted to be able to have the option of having gutters at a future date. So the overhang will be higher than normally it would, and it's not that hard to cut it to the right size later, but you sure don't want to cut it too short and then not have the ability to do the gutters. Okay, you've never been back here. This is the behind the shop, and I like to fantasize about having like a little living quarters. There's room to build that here. You could have a nice little bunkhouse room for a caretaker or something, a farm laborer or something, and they could have their own privacy, but it would require sewage. And so there are some compact septic systems that the contractor was telling me about. So maybe in the future that might be a possibility. We'll see. But this is the back, and all of this wood here is soaked and covered in mushrooms and just needs to be burned. So the plan is to move all of this over there. The new good wood is going to be moved over here and stacked and covered with tin, which I have over there. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to just have a little living quarters behind the shop, and this would be your view? You know? So the slab is way up. I don't know if you can, well, you can see there's a big gap here. The slab is that far from the ground. And I don't know how far that goes back, but that's got to be fixed. But basically back here is kind of a catch-all for everything that's unattractive that I don't know what to do with, you know. These cedar poles are wonderful. I'd like to have just even a shed back here so that I could have my cedar and other things just out of the rain, constant wet. And this, I don't know where this was. This has just been laying here. Big heavy iron gate with these 8x8s. That's 6 or 8. I guess that's only 6. Some kind of a big gate somewhere here at one point. So that's what's going on here. I hope this is of interest to you. I'm going to try to follow it. It'll probably be, I don't know. They're going to work at it in sections so I don't have to completely empty the place, which will be fantastic. And I'll try to follow it and just do a compilation video at the end rather than upload a bunch of videos. I've got some other videos I need to do to talk about some new sponsors and get that going. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. It's so funny, I just let them out and they go straight for whatever's new. They got to check out what's new. What is it? What is it? Yeah. Yeah. It's not supposed to be here.